at work and her mother busy playing bingo in another town, Matilda found herself alone in the house nearly every weekday afternoon. So one afternoon, Matilda set out all by herself to walk to the public library in the village. She introduced herself to the librarian, Mrs. Phelps, and asked her if she might sit a while and read a book. Mrs. Phelps, slightly taken aback at the arrival of such a tiny girl unaccompanied by a parent, nevertheless told her she was very welcome.
"Where are the children's books, please?"
Matilda asked.
"Would you like me to help you find a nice one with lots of pictures in it?"
Mrs. Phelps offered.
"No, thank you,"
Matilda said.
"I'm sure I can manage."
From then on, every afternoon, as soon as her mother left for bingo, Matilda would toddle down to the library. When she had read every single children's book in the place, she started wandering around in search of something else. Matilda had an enormous appetite for reading.
"I'm wondering what to read next,"
Matilda said.
"I've finished all the children's books." "You mean you've looked at the pictures?"
asked Mrs. Phelps.
"Yes, but I've read the books as well. I thought some were very poor,
Matilda continued.
but others were lovely. I liked The Secret Garden best of all."
Matilda said.
"I would like a really good book that grown-ups read. A famous one."
Mrs. Phelps looked along the shelves, taking her time.
"How,"
she asked herself,
"does one choose a famous grown-up book for a 4-year-old girl? Try this,"
she said at last.
"If it's too long for you, just let me know and I'll find something shorter and a bit easier." Great Expectations
Matilda read.
by Charles Dickens. "I'd love to try it."
Mrs. Phelps said.
"Of course you may try it."
Over the next few afternoons, Mrs. Phelps could hardly take her eyes off from the small girl sitting for hours in the big armchair at the far end of the room with a book on her lap. Mrs. Phelps always felt sad when the time came for her to cross the floor and say,
"It's 10 to 5, Matilda."
Mrs. Phelps learned that Matilda's mother had no knowledge of her whereabouts.
"But that's surely not right. I think you'd better ask her before coming to the library,"
said Mrs. Phelps.
"I'd rather not,"
Matilda said.
"She doesn't encourage reading books, nor does my father." "But what do they expect you to do every afternoon in an empty house?" "Sit around and watch the telly." "I see."
Within a week, Matilda had finished Great Expectations, which in that edition contained 411 pages.
"I loved it,"
she said to Mrs. Phelps. Over the next 6 months, under Mrs. Phelps' watchful and compassionate eye, Matilda had read books by Charles Dickens, Thomas Hardy, Jane Austen, Rudyard Kipling, H.G. Wells, and many others. By now, Mrs. Phelps was filled with wonder and excitement.
"Mr. Hemingway in his book says a lot of things I don't understand,
Matilda said to her.
but I loved it all the same. The way he tells it, I feel I'm right there on the spot watching it all happen." "A fine writer will always make you feel that,"
Mrs. Phelps said.
"And don't worry about the bits you don't understand. Sit back and allow the words to wash around you, like music." I will. "Did you know,"
Mrs. Phelps said,
"that a public library like this one allows you to borrow books and take them home? When you have chosen the book you want, bring it to me so I can make a note of it, and it's yours for 2 weeks. You can take more than one if you wish."
From then on, Matilda would visit the library only once a week in order to take out new books and return the old ones. Her own small bedroom now became her reading room. The books transported her into new worlds and introduced her to amazing people who lived exciting lives. She traveled all over the world while sitting in her little room in an English village.